2 minutes to air, 1 minute to the live stream. One minute to air. The live stream has started. Thirty seconds.
Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to all who are here present with us in chambers, all who are viewing us via Zoom or Facebook or whatever internet browser you're using. We are so happy to be back in session. We are making up a work session today, and today is what is today? The 26th day of the month of July in the year of 2022. This year is going by really fast. So we would like to call the Durham City Council work session to order on this day at 1 p.m. And as I said, welcome back. Welcome back, Bull City. We're glad to be here. Madam Clerk, would you please call our roll?
Mayor O'Neill.
I am present.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton.
I'm here.
Councilmember Caballero.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman has requested an excused absence. Councilmember Holsey-Hyman.
Present.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
And Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Thank you.
So I guess our first order of business will be to seek a motion for our absent council member, who I believe today
Madam Mayor, so
traveling
moved.
for work for an excused absence.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, would you sign by the raising of your left hand? All those opposed have the same right. That motion passes. Thank you. Now I'd like to take an opportunity to allow our council to catch up this summer and pass on any good news, things that are happening as a part of our announcement. So we'll start down at the end, and we'll work our way down to Councilwoman Heindel.
Thank you. Good afternoon. If this is this just council comment in general, or okay? Thank you. I don't have anything particularly illuminating to share. Welcome back, everyone. Good to see you. Just a few things that I wanted to do was to extend. A resident was hit on Guest Road a couple of weeks ago and lost his life, and so wanted to extend our thoughts and prayers to the Simpson family. I know that that has caused a lot of pain in our community. And then secondly, I wanted to talk to council if we could take up another conversation around the prescriptions for repair proposal that came to us, I think, our very last work session in June. I feel that we left that kind of as a maybe, we need some more information. And my understanding from the co-chairs is that they were going to be reaching out to individual council members to have conversations around some concerns that council members had at that initial conversation. And so I'm asking council if we could take up that conversation again at our second work session in August. So not the one next week, but the following, which I think will give everyone an opportunity to have those one-on-one conversations with the Community and Safety Wellness Task Force co-chairs. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Mayor Pro Tem, how you been today?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, colleagues, everyone watching in the chamber and at home. It's just good to be back. I want to congratulate again the staff and the council on passing what I think was a transformative budget in June, and looking forward to getting back to the work. We've got some important issues before us, from gun violence to environmental issues to transportation issues, and I'm just pleased to be back at work and good to see all of you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. William Committee.
Madam Mayor, it's a pleasure to be back. Colleagues, good to be back with you. I look forward to continuing our work. I did want to state publicly there are some focal points that I look forward to us addressing. Obviously, the crime situation, but I'm very serious about addressing the epidemic of young black men and boys that are involved in the criminal activity in our city, and I want us to really be able to focus on that. I'll put some serious attention toward it, amongst other things around East Durham Youth League and some small business matters. So looking forward to addressing a new year of new issues and working with you all again. It's been a great 7 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, everyone. I've had a good break. Hope all of my colleagues had a restful few weeks. And I'm looking forward to getting back to work. I also had an issue that I would like for us to take up at a future work session. A small group of us met to discuss the tenants' rights recommendations from both City Tenants United a few weeks ago, and have some recommendations from that conversation to bring back to the broader council for discussion, and would like to get that scheduled on a work session. I don't know whether we have some busy ones coming up, or if it could as soon as possible, given the schedule. So maybe the staff could give us a recommendation for when to put that on the agenda, as well as the proposal that Councilmember Caballero suggested. I think, though, that we do need to consent to put, as a council, to put both of those things on an upcoming work session with just like a thumbs up or something like that. And I would, yeah, so you can take care of that part, Madam Mayor. But yeah, the both City Tenants United recommendations on some future work session agenda is what I would like to propose. Thank you. Looking forward to getting back to work with all of y'all.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Council. It is good to be back. I just wanted to bring to the attention, just kind of put on a highlight, that I'm going to ask for the support of my City Council members. I'd like to present in an upcoming meeting a resolution ensuring safety of schools for all students. And so I just like your support as the students transition back to school. I will be bringing that for as a further meeting, for a resolution. Thank you, and I'm excited to be back.
Thank you all. I'm going to turn our attention to the two people sitting, one to my left and to my right. You may notice that our city manager is not present today. She's on vacation and deserves every day of that. But, you know, these folk are really the ones that make it happen on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, I'm so glad to have Bo Ferguson beside me again this afternoon. We started out our morning together. He's right beside me this afternoon to help carry the load in Wanda's absence, and always happy to see a future legal scholar with me, Attorney Kim, who's right here. So I want to give them an opportunity to say something as well.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill.
Is that a sign?
Quite an introduction. Madam Mayor, thank you. I don't have any specific comments, just a pleasure on behalf of the administration to be back with the council today and to get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Likewise, Mayor, I don't have any specific comments at this time, just that it's been a restful summer. I hope that each of you had a chance to step away from City Hall and get some respite, and we're excited to get back to work with y'all.
Thanks, everybody. And I just want to make a couple of comments. It's been a busy summer, a restful summer, but still a busy summer. And we do have lots of exciting things coming up. Just as a brief preview, patience will be the virtue that we will be looking at in August. Patience, but so kindness, also requires that you have patience. So we're going to be looking at patience and ask for all of our residents to keep that in mind, that we must be patient with one another in all things, and also to be kind. I do want to recognize I have someone who's shadowing me today from St. Aug. We have a senior, Mackenzie. Mackenzie, what's your last name? She has a German last name. So she's here. She's a senior at St. Aug, majoring, I think, in political science, hoping to be in Congress one day. So keep her in mind. She's headed that way and has a bright future ahead of her. And we see a lot of people over in our, to my left today. Y'all can't see it, but it's a packed room over there. So thanks each of you for being here today. Also, I was quite busy this summer. I'm trying to speak fast because I told them I've already warned folk that, so I have to hold myself accountable. I've been to New York City with a group of 40 mayors from all over the world, actually. I was selected to participate in a program offered by Harvard, Bloomberg Harvard. And so we will have a year-long program with them. They'll be training me as a mayor, but they're also going to be sending in resources to our city. And two of our city officials will be going up in August to participate as well. Carmisha Wallace, who is our chief of staff for the city, she'll be going along with Amber Wade, my assistant. And I do believe that Bertha Johnson also made that trip. They told me to tell you hello. And so Durham is sort of a legacy city, and that we've had prior mayors to go, so we're excited about that partnership. And so we have a lot of stuff going on. We're going to do a deep dive on housing. We just have a lot of great stuff. So we're going to get started. And
Mayor, can I just say one last thing?
Yes.
I apologize. I also want to introduce my intern, Mia Martin, who is a BSW student social work student from North Carolina Central. So thank you.
Yes. Glad to have y'all. All right, so we're going to turn to our first order of business, which is our priority items, and I will recognize our city manager, deputy city manager, Bo Ferguson, for any priority items.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, members of council. There are a few priority items from the city manager's office today. First, we are requesting the council to suspend the rules and vote on agenda item number 25. This is the Miss Lake Facility Expansion, Amendment number 1 to Commercial Movers Contract number 18899 with All American Relocation Incorporated. By suspending the rules, this will allow us to move more quickly on a contract to move Water Management's Customer Billing Services Unit from their current location in City Hall to the Miss Lake facility by the end of July. The urgency is that the Community Safety Department is going to be moving into City Hall in the former space housed by CBS, and the Community Safety Department's lease is about to expire at the end of August. So by making this move and expediting this agenda item today, we're going to make sure that Community Safety can make that move before their lease expires. Next on the priority list, just a reminder that this agenda has been revised from a previous version that was published. It removed a duplicate agenda item and added an item that was excluded. Therefore, the agenda was renumbered. Items 8 through 29 all increased by one number on the agenda. Next, agenda item number 30. This is an update on the disposition and redevelopment of the property located at 505 West Chapel Hill Street. There will be a staff presentation with this item. Agenda item number 33, zoning map change, Durham County Utility Administration Building. Motion 1 on this item was revised to change the zoning from industrial light with a development plan to industrial light. Agenda item number 34, zoning map change for 5202 Garrett Road. Motion number 1 was revised to change the zoning from residential suburban multifamily to residential suburban multifamily with a text-only development plan. Agenda item number 37, this is a supplemental item that has been added. This is the City of Durham Youth Works Program, Durham Technical Community College contract fiscal year 2022-2023. And finally, with the indulgence of council, I'd like to take a moment to do an employee recognition today. We have 3 gentlemen from the Solid Waste Department who are joining. I'm going to call them each by name. I'll ask you to stand when I call your name, and we'll ask them to remain standing while I describe a little bit of why we're recognizing them today. First, we've got Harold Bird Jr., a maintenance assistant with the Solid Waste Department. We have Kenneth Parker, a maintenance tech senior with the Solid Waste Department. And we have Keyshawn Sloan, a maintenance assistant with the Solid Waste Department. And gentlemen, bear with me for just a second because I want a minute to tell your story. These gentlemen were on their normal collection route in early June. I believe it was a Friday. And as they were on their route, Kenneth, I believe it was you who hopped out of the cab to go collect a cart. And as he was collecting that cart, noticed that he saw a young child in a field walking by themselves, I believe wasn't wearing much clothing. This created some concern for Kenneth, and he walked over to the child to see if the child had any needs. And as he was walking over, noticed a second younger child, a young female, who was also walking nearby. So he approached the children, asked them if they were okay, asked them where they lived or if their parents were nearby. And as I understand it, the kids were not very communicative, not really able to give him a lot of information to know where they were supposed to be. So he brought them back to the truck where he met his colleagues, and they immediately took actions to make sure the two young children felt safe and comfortable, gave them some water. I believe you gave them a little bit of candy just to settle their nerves a little bit. And immediately, these gentlemen started canvassing the neighborhood to see if they could find a little bit more information about where the kids were supposed to be, find out where their family was or who their caretaker was. They knocked on a number of doors, and as I understand it, unfortunately, no one in the neighborhood recognized the children and couldn't really give them much information to go on. So the folks, our staff returned to the truck and returned to take care of the children, and then proceeded to call their supervisor and call 911. 911 dispatched a police response. The officers came on location, were able to take custody of the children and take over the search. These three gentlemen were then able to get back on the truck and complete their route for the day. Obviously, when we're in city leadership, it's a pleasure to hear stories of staff doing good work, but it is particularly gratifying when our staff go above and beyond the scope of their normal daily activities because they saw a need, because they saw someone who needed help, because they saw someone in our community who needed caring for, and certainly that's the case that's told by this story today. To you three gentlemen, you know, certainly that day, at the least, you provided care to two young children who needed it, and that was in and of itself an accomplishment. But it's certainly possible that you three prevented much greater harm to those kids that might have befallen them, and that really is something that I hope you take deep pride in. We certainly take deep pride in. And that we all know that this story ended well, that the police were able to reunite those children with their family later in the day. But certainly without your care, we're not sure if that could have happened. So on behalf of this administration, I want to thank you for your public service. Mr. Bird and I were talking earlier. His legacy is not just his own public service, but he follows the footsteps of his father, who just retired from us with a 30-year career with the city. And so, gentlemen, just on behalf of the administration, certainly on behalf of City Manager Wanda Page, we want to thank you today. On behalf of your city, it's an honor for us to be able to serve with you. Thank you.
That's the way to start it. Thank you all. Thank you all. And did you see everybody just stood up on that one? You couldn't help but do it. Thank you all for what you do every day and what you did on that day. Thank you all.
Mayor, that concludes our priority items.
You have now heard the manager's priority items. May I have a motion for their approval?
So moved, Madam.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Williams and seconded by Councilwoman Caballero. All those in favor, would you sign by raising your left hand? All those opposed have the same right. The ayes have it, and the motion passes unanimously. I will now turn to our city attorney and to see if she has any priority items.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton and members of the City Council, Deputy City Manager Ferguson, it's good to see you all. The City Attorney's Office does have a couple of priority items. The first is more of a point of personal privilege, if you don't mind. I would like to ask Senior Assistant City Attorney Aaron Miles to come to the podium really quickly. So we are finally fully staffed in the City Attorney's Office again. Aaron, yes. Aaron will serve as General Counsel to Community Development, Finance, Fleet Management, Office of Economic and Workforce Development, and Parks and Recreation. She'll also be working with Chief of Staff Wallace on the legislative liaison role. But I just wanted Aaron to introduce herself to you all and tell her a little bit about her personal background.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm actually from Durham, North Carolina, so this is coming home for me. I haven't lived here since 2010, since high school, but I'm very excited to be back in Durham. I'm coming here from the city of Asheville, so this will be my second municipal work, and I'm very excited to be in the community that I grew up in and help that community, and I'm just very excited to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem will be happy to know she's a proud Aggie with her undergraduate degree, and she is the first Elon University School of Law grad in our office.
All right.
We're excited about that. The second priority item, Madam Mayor, is an amicus brief request, and I'm going to invite Senior Assistant City Attorney Sophia Hernandez up to the podium just to walk the council through this issue.
Good afternoon, Council, Madam Mayor, and staff and residents. So as you may be aware, City Council, or the city gets asked sometimes to join on to amicus brief on topics that are relevant to local government. And we received such a request last month from the City of San Francisco regarding a case 303 Creative v. LNS. I believe you were given a memo that details the background of this case, but in short, it's a pre-enforcement lawsuit that was brought by a Colorado-based website designer who believes that it is against her God's will. Same-sex marriages are against her God's will, and so she intends to run her business of wedding website designs to deny service to same-sex couples, as well as to post language on her website that indicates her denial. So she brought a lawsuit against Colorado saying that the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act violates her freedom of speech and freedom of religion. She lost in the district court as well as the appellate court, but the Supreme Court has agreed to hear her appeal. And so San Francisco is rallying together and spearheading an effort of other local entities to bring support on Colorado's side. It's obviously very important for local governments to be able to enforce their anti-discrimination laws, and were the Supreme Court here to side with the website designer, it could significantly impact our ability to enforce our non-discrimination ordinance. So we're here, the City Attorney's Office is here to request guidance from you all to see if we should sign on with San Francisco in their amicus brief. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd open it up for brief discussion if you like. Is there anyone opposed to signing on, I guess would be the question.
I'm very supportive of signing on. I was just, if you wanted discussion, I was going to argue for it. But if everyone's agreeing, then I won't waste our time.
I'm definitely in favor of signing on. Is there anybody who's not in favor of signing on? Probably would be the question. Right. So let me ask for the.
We don't need a formal vote. I think we have your clear direction.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, that was all that we had from the City Attorney's Office today.
All right. All right. You have heard our city attorney's priority items, and I would like to entertain a motion to accept those priority items.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilwoman Johnson and seconded by Councilman Williams that we accept her priority items. All those in favor, if you could raise your left hand. All those opposed will have the same right. Seeing none, that motion passes unanimously. I now turn to our city clerk for any priority items that she may have.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Wanted to welcome everybody back and let you know that the city clerk's office has no priority items today.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I forgot to recognize you at the beginning. I will offer you the opportunity to speak a little bit longer if you want to. Thank you. All right. I would now turn to our second order of business, which is to read through the agenda for today. And I was telling Chief Deputy Manager Ferguson, he has to keep me organized like our city manager does. Sometimes I get a little discombobulated, y'all. So here we go. So we're going to read the entire agenda. The first item is the approval of city council minutes. Second item is Audit Services Oversight Committee appointment. The third item, Carolina Theater of Durham Board of Trustees. Fourth is the Citizens Advisory Committee appointment. Number 5, the Durham City County Environmental Affairs Board appointment. 6, Durham Convention Center Authority mayoral appointment. 7, Durham Open Space and Trails Commission appointments. 8, Durham Open Space and Trails Commission mayoral appointment. 9, Durham Performing Arts Center Oversight Committee appointment. Item 10, Durham Workers' Rights Commission appointment. 11, Participatory Budgeting Steering Committee appointments. Item 12, the Racial Equity Commission appointment. 13 is the Recreation Advisory Commission appointment. Item 14 begins our departmental items, bid report May and June 2022. Audit services, wait a minute, item 15 is 911 staffing performance audit, June 2022. 16, selection of the external auditor. 17, the ordinance to amend various sections of the Durham City Code to ensure compliance with North Carolina General Statute 160A-175. Item 18, 2023 City Council meeting schedule.
I'd like to pull that.
Item 19, the Opioid Settlement Funds OSF Lincoln Community Health Center Incorporated Grant Agreement, and I believe we have a speaker for that, so that item will be pulled. Item 20, the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration Airport Improvement Program grant offer. Item 21, the approval of a multi-family housing facility to be known as 300 East Main in the city of Durham, North Carolina, with the financing thereof with multi-family housing revenue bonds. Item 22, contract with Volunteers of America of the Carolinas, Inc., VOAC, to provide services for homelessness coordinated entry with diversion. Item 23, tri-party agreement with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency and the North Carolina Home Builders Association for the construction training partnership. Number 24, construction contract to Crofton Diving Corporation for Little River and Lake Mickey Reservoir safety improvements and miscellaneous rehabilitation items. Excuse me. Item 25, Miss Lake Facility Expansion Amendment Number 1 to Commercial Movers Contract Number 18899 with All American Relocation Incorporated. Mayor Pro Tem, if you would take over. All right.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, and I'm going to pull 25 per the manager's request for action today. So if the administration would note that. Under General Services Department, item number 26, change order number 2 to the contract with Incline Construction Incorporated for the Durham Convention Center repair project. I'm actually pulling that. Item number 27, construction services contract with White Oak Construction Corp. of North Carolina for the Chapel Hill Road Transit Corridor Improvement Project. Item 28, contract amendment number 2 for geotechnical engineering and materials testing services with A1 Consulting, Inc. for Fire and EMS Station 18. Item 29, modification of GMP amendment to the design build agreement with Monteith Construction Corp. for Fire and EMS Station 18. Item number 30, update on disposition and redevelopment of the property located at 505 West Chapel Hill Street. This will be a presentation. Under public hearings, City County Planning Department, item 31, consolidated annexation, Carolina Civil Works. Item 32, partial closing of Henderson Street. Item 33, zoning map change, Durham County Utility Administration Building. Item number 34, zoning map change, 5202 Garrett Road. Item number 35, zoning map change, East Cornwallis Commercial. And our citizens' matters to be heard at 2 p.m. Mr. Cliff Heindel, to receive comments from Cliff Heindel regarding comment on the enforcement of the Unified Development Ordinance. I believe we have another citizens' matter as well, Mr. Gregory Webb, to be heard at 2 p.m. as well. And Madam Clerk, you.
And James Chavis is signed up today.
And Mr. James Chavis is as well to be heard at 2 p.m. under citizens' matters. We'll be glad to do those. Under supplemental items, Office of Economic and Workforce Development, item number 37, City of Durham Youth Works Program, Durham Technical Community College contract fiscal year 2022 through 23. And there ends the reading of the printed and publicized agenda. Staff, I have item number 25 for action per the city manager's request. I have item number 26 pulled, and I also have Councilmember Caballero's pulled 18?
And there's a speaker on 19, so 19 was pulled as well.
And 19 as well. Mr. Manager, City Manager, would you just, for the record, just state all? I was multitasking, sorry.
The following items are pulled, items 18, items 19, 25 pulled for consideration and action today, 26, 30 also has speakers in the presentation.
All right. Madam Mayor, you want to reassume, or do you want to?
Let me make sure I'm still able to talk. So
Yes, ma'am.
On for a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
On for a minute.
All right. Well, if it's the council's pleasure, then we'll go to item number 25 per the manager's request. I'm going to entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
I've heard a motion from Councilmember Caballero and a second from Councilmember Williams. All will indicate by saying aye. Well, raise your left hand. Any opposed? With the rules being suspended, I'll entertain a motion for action on item number 25.
Second.
I've heard a motion from Councilmember Williams and a second from Councilmember Johnson. Will indicate affirmation by raising your left hand. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Item 25 is adopted. All right, at this time, we'll entertain our citizens' matters to be heard at 2 p.m. And staff, please make sure I have the order correct. I have the first speaker as Mr. Cliff Heindel, if he's in the chamber. Mr. Heindel, good afternoon, sir. If you'll come up and just give your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Cliff Heindel. About a month ago, I received a notification in the neighborhood for a Board of Adjustment meeting. I attended the meeting, and having read through the staff document, was disappointed and a little confounded, and I guess I want to bring it to the council's attention, and I'd like some explanation at some point. I don't know who exactly to address outside the staff at the city attorney and the planning department, which I've been in communication with through email. But it clearly states in the staff document, in order to meet the requirements of a variance, all requirements found must be met. A couple pages later, it says the applicant does not meet this finding, and yet the Board of Adjustment earlier this morning voted to approve a vote in contravention of the Unified Development Ordinance. To me, this, I don't know if it's a coincidence or it's a systematic problem, but it feels like it could be a equal protection issue if the Board of Adjustment is routinely ignoring Unified Development Ordinances. So I'll leave it at that, but thank you for your time.
Mr. Heindel, thank you so much for being with us. Our next speaker is Mr. Gregory Webb. Is Mr. Webb in chamber or virtual?
I'm virtual. Can you hear?
Mr. Webb, good afternoon, sir. Thank you for being with us. If you'll state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Gregory Webb, Senior. And what I want to address is what are we doing to stop all the violence in Durham? I had a 15-year-old niece that was killed a couple of weeks ago, and it just seemed like something has to be done about all this shooting. And I was wondering if the board, if the city council can give me some direction, or what is the city doing to stop all this violence? That's pretty much all I have.
Mr. Webb, thank you so much for being with us today, sir. Mr. Chavis, good afternoon, sir. Good to see you. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon to City Council, Mayor, and others members, and to the City Attorney. As you know, the last time in June, I was up here talking about the funds that you was going to give Durham Housing Authority under Anthony Scott. And in doing that, I had to do some research. And I asked the city attorney, where is it that the city authorized us to pay a debt for Durham Housing Authority? Well, I had to do some research. And in that research, I found out that, and I'm gonna make sure you get a copy because I'm trying to make this short, that y'all had a meeting that Reggie Johnson and them went and got y'all to approve that $573,000 that Anthony Scott, which is Durham Housing Authority, was in debt of since 2005. Okay? Now, you're taking our taxpayer money once again and paying a debt. And I asked the city attorney, when can someone else do the same thing? Be in debt and come up here and ask you all for some funds and help them pay their debt to get this done. You did it for Anthony Scott, who's making $204,000 a year from Durham Housing Authority, which has been in debt since 2005. If you want to read your article, it comes from your article that came to you all, page 3, that y'all agreed with Reggie Johnson to pay this debt the Durham Housing Authority owe under that $600 million, I'm trying to make it short, that he owes out of that money. That's robbing Peter for me to pay Paul. And that's a disappointment for me as being a black man, that a poor black man to the amount of money he's making, to a rich black man that y'all sit and agree with. See, back in the old days, they called us peasants. And when peasants had to accept what the high class folks said and do. So this is the same thing going on for me to say to you all, y'all raised our taxes last year, and you turn around and taking our money and paying another debt that someone that's in the position since 2005, that's 17 years of a debt that has been incurred, but in order for him to get this money, we, the taxpayer, has to pay it.
Ms. Chavis, thank you very much for being with us today. All right, by my account, that ends all of our speakers for Citizens Matters, and we'll turn back now to the agenda. Madam Mayor, I can continue with your permission, unless you're ready to reassume, ma'am.
You know what, I think I got choked at lunch, so I'm still feeling the effects of that. So
Yes, ma'am.
Hear us a little while longer.
Yes, ma'am.
Pro Tem, I might as well take advantage of you at this particular time. Make sure
I signed up for it.
without coughing, so you can go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'm right here.
Gladly, ma'am. Thank you. Colleagues, we can, I think we can knock out the pulled items fairly quickly and let staff go, and then we can get to our presentations. I think there were only 3 pulled items, and we'll go in order. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Councilmember Caballero, the first one was item 18, City Council meeting schedule, and I'll yield to you at this time.
Thank you. I just wanted to see if there was a way we could move our, I guess it's our work session on 12/20, that Thursday, to 12/18, Tuesday. We've done that in the past, and so was wondering if we were able to do that. And I think if that is the same for the next calendar year as well, because I think the schedule goes all the way through 2023, if we could go ahead and make both of those adjustments. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Colleagues, anyone have any input on that or wish to speak on that? I'll ask for unanimous consent to do that. I think it's a pretty, what was that, this thumbs up? All right, the administration would make that note to our schedule. Thank you, Councilmember Caballero. You're very conscientious in making sure that our holiday schedule.
It's DPS winter break. I don't want to come home to 3 kids. Even though they're teenagers, they're chaotic.
We appreciate your vigilance. I believe the next item is item 19. We had a resident pull item 19, opioid settlement funds. I don't have the name of the resident who.
Miss Claretta Foy.
Mayor Pro Tem, I've been informed that Ms. Foy is only here as a resource person and is here to answer questions, but she did not intend to speak unless council has any questions.
All right. Thank you so much. I think the next item was one that I pulled, item number 26, change order number 2 to the contract with Incline Construction Incorporated for the Durham Convention Center repair project. Who is our staff resource for this item?
Yes, this is Todd Tingler with General Services. I'm staff resource.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Questions, very quick question. First off, I know that change orders sometimes are inevitable and they can be expensive, but I was curious in reading the report on this particular item that there were some violations discovered subsequent to the initial repair, what initially occasioned this job. I was wondering, had not the line been damaged in the first place, would we have ever discovered the additional violations that occasioned this change, or would it have just gone on? I'm curious as to how discoverable these things would have been were it not for the initial work.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Todd Tingler with General Services again. The discovery of the various code violations was the result of 2 issues. One, where we were effecting repairs to the convention center following the water damage from a broken sprinkler line. But we were also addressing some failing fireproofing that was on the underside of the roof deck. And to do that, we had to remove the ceiling in several places, one of them being the service corridor behind what is the junior ballroom section in the convention center. That's where we found the bulk of the code violations. These items would have eventually been discovered during the repair of the fireproofing issue, but you're correct, the catalyst was the work being done as a result of the water damage.
So this is, and I'm listening, I'm fully in support of the change order, but is it safe to say that this is money we would have been spending at some point anyway, pursuant to addressing the violations? Would that be fair to say?
Well, once the the code violations were discovered, we would have had to have made the repairs. Yes. So the funds would have eventually been expended for that. The time frame around that is uncertain because of the work being done to the fireproofing. It may not have been done as soon as it is right now, but it would have been done eventually, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I had for this item. I appreciate it. I'm glad we caught it. Thank
No
you
problem.
much.
Yes, I'm glad too.
Absolutely. Thank you much. Yes, ma'am. All right, colleagues, I think that's it with our pulled items, if I'm not mistaken. At this time, we have two briefings, reports, and by my account, the first one is 15, 911 Staffing Performance Audit, June 2022. Our resource person is Dr. Jermaine Brewington, and we welcome them to the podium. Good to see all of you.
Mayor Pro Tem, item 19 was not planned for a staff presentation. It's on the council's agenda for discussion if you have it. Otherwise, it's simply to accept the report. So I'm not sure that Dr. Brewington is still with us.
Did I say 19 or 15? Sorry.
I'm sorry, item 15.
Okay. Was this not meant to be?
No, it was simply a report for council.
Got you. Okay, that's fine. Good to see y'all anyway. We'll move on then to item
Item 30.
Got you. Item 30, much anticipated update on disposition and redevelopment of the property located at 505 West Chapel Hill Street. Stacy Poston is our resource person. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Stacy Poston, City of Durham General Services Department. Happy to be here today to provide an update on 505 West Chapel Hill Street. The General Services Department has been working on this project since 2017. This is a project whereby the city created a new purpose-built building for the previous tenant of this building, and the building existed in our property inventory. It was declared surplus by council, and so the staff has been looking at various options to repurpose this site and redevelop this site to include affordable housing and other auxiliary benefits as noted by council. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about the process that we've been undertaking since 2017, share with you the RFP responses that we have received, and to talk about possible next steps that council could take to advance. As I mentioned, we have been working on this project for a number of years. About this time last year, we were in front of council with a proposal from the Fallon Company to advance. We had entered into negotiations with that company. The company had indicated the original submission parameters needed to be changed, and council at that time determined that they did not want to accept the modifications suggested by the Fallon Company. And since that time, the staff has been working through a new solicitation process.
Ms. Poston, can I get you to step a little closer to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Sorry, it was reverbing. Excuse me. Do you need me to back up a little bit?
No, I think you're in the sweet spot.
Okay, apologies. So since that time, the staff has been working on an RFQ and an RFP process, and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about that. The staff have been collaborating with a number of different departments. This is not something, I happen to be at the podium, but this is not something that happens alone. We've had intense conversations with the finance department, the community development department, the planning department, and as well as transportation. And so my peers have been heavily involved in analyzing and advancing the project to this stage. So the RFQ and RFP process have been undertaken. We have also received proposals from firms, and we have undertaken an interview process with those firms, and we're here today to talk about various approaches to possible next steps. The disposition process, as I mentioned, included two sort of phases. We had a number of submissions in what we call the request for qualifications phase, and we analyzed the submissions, and there were different submissions in different categories, affordable housing developer, a prime developer, a developer of commercial property. And so from that stage, we looked at the best of the best and advanced the group that we wanted to the next phase. So we had categories in lead developers where we had 6 different companies submit as lead developers, 3 different companies submit as affordable developers, and 6 companies submit as commercial developers. And so these teams then went through a phase where they could team together. And so as a part of the request for proposal stage, we received 2 teams and 2 responses to the submissions. So Ackridge and DHIC came in as one team and provided a proposal to the city for consideration, and Ancora and Wind Companies came in together and submitted a proposal for consideration by the city. The proposals and the request for proposals outlined and illuminated the 5 council-defined objectives. These objectives originated from community engagement that happened as far back as 2018, and the most important priority, or what we call the gating priority, was that we wanted to see affordable housing on this site, a minimum of 80 units of affordable housing at 60% of AMI. Additionally, the proposals were to generate significant revenue, both in the sale of the property itself and in future tax revenues. We were interested in seeing a mixed-use development that delivered a significant component of commercial property with a floor of 250,000 square feet. There was an interest in keeping the Milton Small building that is on the site and renovating that building as a part of the development program. And finally, the 5th element, but not least important, was to activate and create a catalytic property, on one of our main downtown corridors coming into our city's core. So now I'm going to introduce Elizabeth Packer from HR&A Advisors. They have been doing financial modeling and partnering with us as we've moved through this project.
Thank you. So now, following Stacy's introduction of the process, we can walk through the 2 proposals that city staff evaluated. So this slide here provides a summary of the development programs received by the 2 teams. So comparing the residential and commercial components of the Ackridge and Ancora proposals. And we'll walk through this in more detail, but we can see both teams met the requirement for the 80 units of permanently affordable housing, while the Ackridge team had a larger residential component with just over 400 units total, whereas the Ancora team put forth a larger commercial footprint with more office and lab space. And again, we'll talk through this in more detail, but this is just meant as an overview. In terms of the teams, Ackridge again submitted to fulfill the role of lead developer as well as commercial developer, with DHIC as its affordable residential developer. We can see here as well the other team members making up the Ackridge team, including Perkins and Will as their primary architect partner. The Ancora team has the Ancora firm as the lead developer as well as commercial developer, and the Wind Companies as their affordable residential partner. And in addition to these other team members here, Duda Payne is their lead architect partner. This is a rendering from the Ancora proposal, and we can see that they've positioned their open space of approximately 1 acre in size along West Chapel Hill Street next to the existing building. Behind the existing building, we see a large commercial tower, which includes over 200,000 square feet of office and lab space. And then we see a mid-rise residential building, which includes the combination of market rate and affordable residential units. In this image from the Ackridge proposal, we can see at the corner of Chapel Hill and Gregson, next to the existing building, a large high-rise residential tower, which includes market rate residential units. Not visible in this image is the mid-rise building behind that contains both the affordable and market rate units. So there's 2 residential units, or 2 residential buildings in this proposal, given the higher number of residential units total. And behind the existing building, we can see Ackridge's smaller new lab building that is included as part of their program. So in terms of evaluating the responses, the city's evaluation panel convened and evaluated responses against the criteria that were laid out in the RFP. And the evaluation criteria were constructed to reflect the priorities articulated by council. So you can see the majority of the largest point category was devoted to the delivery of affordable housing units, reflecting that that was the top priority. Respondents were also evaluated in terms of the financial return, both in terms of the one-time land price, the generation of ongoing tax revenue from new development, as well as the deal structure and approach to financing the affordable units. The other criteria against which respondents were evaluated include the approach to mixed-use development, rehabilitation of the existing building, ground floor and overall urban design, and then lastly, the approach to community benefits, which encompasses plans for community engagement, on-site programming, and opportunities for minority equity ownership. So we'll now walk through these criteria in turn and talk about how the two teams performed against these criteria. Excuse me. So as stated, both of the teams met the minimum of 80 units of permanently affordable housing, affordable at 60% AMI. In terms of the larger residential program, Anchorage delivers a larger residential component of over 400 units. And again, those units are split into two buildings. So there's a high-rise 100% market rate tower, and then a mid-rise building that includes the affordable units interspersed with market rate units. Ancora has just under 300 units in their residential program, and all of those are in a single mid-rise building. In terms of generation of financial return to the city, the Anchorage deal is predicated on a nominal offer for the land paid up front, while the Ancora proposal is based on city subsidy to enable their proposed development and proposed program. In terms of approach to delivery of mixed-use development, Anchorage did not meet the stated preference for 250,000 square feet of commercial space. Their total office and lab component came in around 200,000 square feet, so a bit below that preference. Whereas the Ancora team did go over that 250,000 square feet threshold in terms of their total office and lab. Both teams include retail as a ground floor use in their commercial buildings, so getting at that desire for an activated ground floor experience. In terms of the approach to rehabilitating the existing building, both teams propose using historic tax credits to enable the redevelopment and rehabilitation necessary. And they both propose putting public-facing uses on the ground floor to help bring the community in. So the Anchorage proposal included plans for a public art gallery and ground floor retail. The Ancora proposal described potential for a ground floor cafe and a child care center. And then in terms of the upper floors in the existing building, the Anchorage proposal envisioned office space for tenants who would want to be close to the new lab building in their plan, while the Ancora proposal envisioned a mix of both office and lab space to support a variety of tenants. So we began to touch on the approach to activated ground floor and overall design. So Ancora has a highly visible 1 acre open space proposed along Chapel Hill Street. Plans for public art that repurpose the staircase from the original building. And again, that space for cafe and retail to start to activate the ground floor. The Anchorage proposal has an open space they're calling a central green, which is accessible from all of the bounding streets, so promoting permeability and pedestrian access, as well as ground floor in the residential and commercial buildings to build site activation. In terms of the approach to community benefits, including, as mentioned, public engagement, on-site programming, and minority equity ownership, both teams made a commitment in their submissions to marketing equity ownership opportunities to minority investors. When it comes to on-site programming, The Ackridge proposal focused mainly on opportunities for youth education and educational partnerships, so potentially partnering with North Carolina Central and setting up a scholarship fund for local students, which is a model that they've done on some of their development projects in Washington, D.C. The Ancora proposal really put together a pretty detailed vision for on-site programming that would require city subsidy to set up workforce training programs, life science programs focused on opportunities for minority investors, as well as community space dedicated to Black Space, a local nonprofit. So that was how the proposals were evaluated. And given the generally low financial offers for the site, the evaluation panel concluded that neither proposal merited negotiations at this point in the process. So that brings up several potential paths forward and direction from council on some of these key decision points will inform next steps in terms of what comes next. So for one path is around considering that financial return is just one of the priorities of council. There is one pathway would be to negotiate with one of these existing parties if council is willing to accept a lower financial return in exchange for securing its other priorities, such as the affordable housing, new open space, and new commercial job generating space. Another pathway would be, if council wants to focus on securing the affordable housing, would be to consider subdividing the site in order to proceed with doing an RFP to find a new affordable residential developer, to proceed with the mixed income building while holding the rest of the site for future disposition. A third pathway would be to restart the process, and if that is the decision, there's different choices around the mechanism for the disposition. So in this process and the prior process, the site was solicited as a fee simple disposition, so the city selling to a private partner. For a future process, the city could consider a ground lease structure. So rather than realizing a large upfront financial return from the sales price, the city would instead enter into a long-term partnership and begin to share in revenues over the long term with its development partner. And one of the key decision points that'll inform next steps in the process is around the Milton Small Building. So that had been identified as a priority, preserving the existing Milton Small Building. It has very negative effects on project financial feasibility. So as the city contemplates next steps and how it wants to secure its different priorities, city staff is seeking direction in terms of whether that building will need to be preserved or not, and if the city would entertain future development options that include its demolition. So given these different pathways, I think the goal here is to get direction from council to inform next steps in terms of how to proceed with the solicitation process.
Thank you so much for that excellent, and as I said, much anticipated presentation. Before we get into council discussion, we do have some folk who have indicated a desire to speak. I have 4 speakers for this item. The first is George Smart. If Mr. Smart is available. Okay.
Yes, I'm available.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were in chamber. Forgive me. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I'm George Smart. I'm the executive director of North Carolina Modernists. We're a 501c3 that works throughout the state to preserve modernist buildings. I don't know if you've all stepped through the Milton Small Building or not, but it's really one of the finest examples of mid-century modern that exists in Durham. It's on par with the Unscripted Hotel downtown, which was a mess for many years before it was saved. and is now as one of the jewels of the downtown scene. I would like to encourage the council, because this has been going on a long time, and the staff has worked very hard through very many proposals, to engage in negotiations with these two firms and see if they can get a somewhat better deal. It is tough to put together a proposal of this size to meet all the objectives that the city wants and get a big pot of money out of it at the end. I want to encourage the council to preserve the building and also to consider moving forward that although a lot of people didn't like the building, particularly the police department, that building was never designed to be a police department. It is always designed to be a conventional office building. So it's no surprise that the building was disliked for years and years, and still is by some for different reasons. But it could be a marvelous office again, and as outlined in some of the proposals, it could make excellent high-end kinds of residences to complement the different levels of accommodation throughout the project. So I really want to encourage you to keep the Milton Small building. It will be the crown jewel of that block when completed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate them. Next, Chris Laws, who I believe is going to be with us virtually as well.
Hi there. My name is Chris Laws. I'm the Executive Director of Preservation Durham, and I'd like to reiterate a lot of what George eloquently said. The Milton Small building is a treasure for Durham. It is one of the few modernist buildings of its kind around. And I'd like to commend the city for making preservation a priority, and I'm hoping that you'll remain committed to that, that criteria as you decide what to do moving forward. I know that there are historic tax credits that are being considered, and there's also an opportunity to get this building on the National Register for as a local landmark. So, and I just want to give or pledge Preservation Durham support in helping with that in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now turn to speakers who are present with us here in chambers. The first speaker I have is Rick Larson. And then after that, Marcia McNally. All right, there you are. Mr. Larson, good to see you.
Good to see you.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Madam Mayor and members of council, thanks for the opportunity to speak about this topic. I'm Rick Larson. I'm a member of Duke Memorial United Methodist Church, which is across the street from the 505 property. I'm also co-chair of the Durham CAN court team at Duke Memorial. Like the Willard Street Apartments, which Durham CAN advocated for, this property is an ideal location for affordable housing. Needless to say, we were deeply disappointed when the first plan fell through, and we're eager to see affordable housing move forward at the fastest rate possible. The need just gets more urgent every day. We feel it's our moral obligation as a church and as CAN to insist on the availability of quality affordable housing for all. That's our primary objective and desire with this property. This is especially true at a time when luxury apartments continue to be built at a dizzying rate. Now is not the time to slow down the development of affordable housing. So city staff has highlighted as one goal, you all are aware of the goal of a significant monetary return to the city. I would just highlight the word significant. And we believe that council should recognize that there's a social return on investment that the units of affordable housing provide. For us at the church, the highest and best use for this property is to site as soon as possible, as many as possible units of affordable housing, and that they should be available in perpetuity. 2 reasons for this. As you know, the property is on the edge of downtown and all that it has to offer: access to the transit hub, the library, the ballpark, city and county offices. This is not the time to cite affordable housing through some negotiations or machinations somewhere else. This is the best spot for affordable housing, full stop. And as we all know, market forces are doing a great job of providing luxury apartments, commercial real estate, office space. That's not true for affordable housing. The city should, whenever it has the opportunity, as it does here, step up and do everything in its power to make sure that our public employees and other low-income and working-income folks have an opportunity for affordable housing that's located in the right places. Again, now is not the time to go back to the drawing board and delay. 2 points about the existing proposals. We are adamantly opposed to separating out the affordable housing from the market rate units. We think that sends exactly the wrong message about the affordable housing. Market rate housing and affordable housing can work very well together. That's been shown in many instances. Please keep that in mind as you look for a solution. And secondly, if you feel it's important to retain the office space component, we would very much like to see you proceed in some way, either through subdivision or whatever, with the affordable housing piece right now. Now's not the time to delay, it's our position.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. I appreciate
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Marcia McNally. Good afternoon and welcome. You have 3 minutes. Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you too. My name is Marcia McNally. I live at 203 North Church in downtown Durham. I'm here today to speak on behalf of the Coalition for Affordable Housing and Transit. We have been speaking consistently on this property since 2017. I'm going to give you a very short version of the letter that I sent you by email last night. And Rick basically just gave you our same talking points, just in a different order. We've worked with community groups like CAN and the church, but also City Council and staff since 2017 on this to figure out how to do it, how to get a significant portion of affordable housing on this site. And I think we've done a remarkable job of figuring it out, being educated together, and we thought we had success when we found developers who are willing to bid on the project for 80 units of affordable at 60% AMI or less, and for them to be guaranteed in perpetuity. We are really disappointed. We were disappointed when the first procurement process imploded. We liked the team quite a bit, worked with them during the period of time once council had approved them. And now we're even more disappointed that it seems like the second process is not going to go forward. However, we just want to reiterate the things that you can imagine and expect us to say. 80 units of affordable housing must be part of any redevelopment of that site. For that matter, we'd be happy if more of the property were developed in housing, as long as there was a pro rata share of affordable housing that went with it. As Rick said, we don't agree with the project splitting out market and putting it up on the front and putting the more modest and affordable units hidden away in the back. We also, I know it's been discussed from time to time, do not agree with taking money for that site in any way and putting the housing somewhere else. As others have mentioned, this is a key place, just like Willard Street, to put housing for anyone, but particularly people of low and moderate incomes. We are sort of agnostic or don't have a comment on the priorities 2 through 4. But we do believe that whatever project goes there, it should be a landmark and deliver signature design. It is the place in Durham for people to see what we are about, what our values are, and how we feel about ourselves as a city. So while we understand the uncertainties in the market, particularly the office and commercial market, and the high construction costs that are making everyone have jitters, we urge the council to work with staff to figure out a way to go forward with the housing, because there is a more urgent need than there was 5 years ago when we started. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now, I appreciate you. Colleagues, that ends the speakers I have indicated, or at least were indicated to me for public comment. So the matters before us now, I have some definite things to say about this issue. But at this time, I'll open the floor to any colleagues who may have any comments or questions for staff. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and thanks to the residents who've come to speak on this today and to all of our staff and consultants who have been working on this project endlessly, it feels like, for a very long time. This is a really important site for the city, and we have articulated a lot of really important goals. And unfortunately, I feel, are now in a position of having to think more, to think a little bit more broadly about what we want to see on the site and whether we are in a position where we can do this right now. I think that based on market conditions for office, COVID, construction costs, we've just been placed in a really difficult position with regard to getting everything that we want. And so I've been thinking a little bit more about what are the most important things for me to get on that site. And for me, the number one piece is the affordable housing. That's the piece that we have heard the most about from community. That's the most critical need for Durham right now. And I think it's really important that we figure out how to get affordable housing on that site. I don't feel satisfied with either of these two proposals. I'm sure that's not surprising. The amount of money that the developers are offering is not anywhere close to what we have as the appraised value, as y'all have communicated to us. Even with all of the restrictions on the site, the appraised value was much, much higher. And I think we're just in an environment where developers are responding to the lack of uncertainty, and to the lack of certainty, and we also feel a lot of lack of certainty in terms of, how much office does downtown Durham really need if people aren't gonna really come back to work after COVID? But we know that we need affordable housing. And so I think that it's a good idea to go back to the drawing board and to try to figure out how to get affordable housing on this site and potentially delay the other pieces until we have more certainty about market conditions and about what is needed with regard to the commercial and the retail space. And I know we could potentially do that by subdividing the site. I'm not sure exactly how that process should work in terms of like us coming with a proposal for how to subdivide it, or like ask the affordable housing developers, how much land would you need to do this kind of a project? But we have some really great affordable housing developers that have partnered with the teams that have submitted RFPs. We have others in the community that are doing work with us, with the county, with DHA, and other private affordable housing providers. And I think that we should be able to get some affordable housing on that site in the near term, and we can wait on the other pieces. I don't think that we are not in any way in an office space crunch or a retail space crunch in the way that we are in an affordable housing crunch, particularly in the downtown area. And I don't think we should pursue either of these options. I think we can do better. It might take a little bit longer to do better, but this site is so important for downtown and for the community. I wouldn't want to pick a subpar program that we know is going to be there forever rather than wait a little bit longer to try to get something better. And I feel like that about everything except the affordable housing. I want to do that now. And with regard to the building, we've had a lot of residents come to us and be really interested in preserving the building. And I initially also had that as a priority. As we continue down this road, I feel like the preservation of the building is a major obstacle to getting everything else that we want on this site, particularly the cost of preservation of the building. And so if it were up to me, that would be the priority that I would eliminate. I think that all of the other priorities are higher for me. It would be great if we could, but the amount of money that we would lose on preserving this it doesn't feel responsible to me to spend the money on preserving the building when we have a lot of other, in my opinion, more urgent and critical needs in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Colleagues?
Thank you.
Councilmember Williams, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just start, and Mayor, I won't be long. I'll just start with, I want it to be known that I'm very compassionate about our city and about this space. This has been very layered and complex. It is very dense. And I also took some time to really try and understand what was before us. And Councilmember Johnson has pretty much stated a lot of what I was going to say. You know, I do want us to hear all of the perspectives. We're hearing preservation, we're hearing affordable housing, we're hearing new signature luxury design, and, you know, and a lot of times we can't have all of those things at once and expect it to not cost as much either, you know. This is, one thing I agree with, this is a very, very, very key location, especially for our residents that will be in an affordable housing. However, I don't want us to talk about affordable housing in a silo. We can't take affordable units and place them in the most expensive places overwhelmingly. Now, anytime we can place affordable units somewhere, then we should do that, especially on the land that we have leverage over, considering the fact that we're in the state of North Carolina. But we also, I'm going to force every single person that talks about affordable housing to expand your conversation purview. We have to talk about the affordable unit as well as all of the things that contribute to making it affordable. And that means connecting the pipeline. That means connecting where you live to where you work and the accessibility to that. So while I'm extremely compassionate, this conversation can no longer happen in a silo. So as we are working to, you know, build affordable units, we're going to run into that barrier of subjectivity, and we're going to run into that barrier of affordable to who, you know, but at the same time, you know, we have a lot of jobs coming here, and I think we need to lead with the question of what does the city need now? What does the city need? And and I know folks look at us business owners as bad people sometimes, not in Durham. We actually give a dang about the holistic approach. So, you know, I can tell you we don't have enough retail downtown. We don't have enough commercial places to spend money so the city can make money. We don't have enough space for us to build revenue so we can pay for the things that we all want, especially the social programs. But all of these things work, and we cannot just approach these conversations from our purview of interest. We have to take a holistic approach. And the first thing we need to do is make sure, yes, we are building affordable units, but we're connecting them to what makes it affordable, to the point where we won't have to rely just on that. But do know we're about to put a lot of focus right here in affordability where everything around it is expensive. So we need to make sure those folks also have jobs where they can afford to live in this space when they leave their apartment or their home. That is very important to me. We also don't have a convention center downtown. That's a lot of revenue we're missing out on. So I'm thinking about it project-based. I'm not interested in preserving the building. I'm compassionate about it, but when I look at what we are missing out on, I refuse to play chicken and head-on collision with environmental plan versus the housing plan versus an affordability plan. I just refuse to do that. I think it all can coexist. And that, I think the conversation needs to start coming together. So affordable housing advocates, preservation advocates, environmental advocates, economic development advocates, let's break bread together and stop having these conversations in silos.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Madam, did you?
Well, I've spent a lot of time walking around that building over the years. That's about a 3-minute walk from where I grew up. So I watched it be the police station and watched it, you know, now stand empty. And I have to first of all say that I am not a preservation act. I am not for preserving that building for lots of reasons. And part of it is neighborhood reasons from way back. I do think that this is a case of hurry up and slow down. And also, I do think it's a unique opportunity. You know, this is sort of a good problem to have. We have this really, really great piece of land, right? Right at the center of the entryway to downtown Durham. And Durham is so full of talent. And we also are about to take a deep dive into housing from the council perspective. So I do think we can hurry up and try to get it done to deal with some of our demands on affordable housing. I am for having affordable housing somewhat on that site, but I do also think that this is a case where we can have it all. If we put our minds together about it along with the experts. So I think Councilwoman Johnson summed up a lot of it for me, so I won't take long other than to say, I think we need to start at the drawing board again. It's a different council. We have different priorities. I think some of them are going to coalesce, but I think about the opportunities there that, it's going to be right next to the bus station, the transit area. Some of our city employees who work at the bus station, we can see some of our bus drivers living there at affordable rates. It's just it's such a unique opportunity that I think if we go into it with an attitude that, one, we're going to learn about housing and what we actually need, then we'll come forward with a great plan that will be that gatekeeper, that will be that, like, wow, we enter in Durham kind of spot. So I'm for starting again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Caballero.
Thank you. Thank you to all my colleagues who've shared a lot. I will be brief. I am actually in favor of preserving the building. It's not my style of architecture, but as been said, it is actually an important building. I understand I might be the only council member who's interested in preserving it, but it is an important architectural building. The architect is important to the area, and unfortunately, there are not a lot of other buildings that have been preserved. A lot of our mid-century modern things have been torn down. A lot of people don't necessarily like the big glass blocks. But I do agree with my colleagues around the affordability piece. I think that that is my #1 priority for that site. However, staff, if that means we restart the whole process, if that means it's easier to divide the site and figure out that piece and then what needs to happen elsewhere, that's where I will look to staff to what gets us there faster. Whichever trajectory gets us there faster to getting affordable units on the site is important. While he's not here at the moment, I appreciate Councilmember Williams' comments, but if we did an assessment on what is actually critically needed, I think every single person in the city is going to say housing. And so that, to me, is the #1 issue that we have to meet, and I'll look to staff to let us know what's the easiest way or the best way to move forward, whether is that dividing the site, is that doing a whole RFP package together. And I understand that the priority of preserving the building, because I am 1 vote, may not be in that. But I did want to at least say publicly that I am in favor of preserving the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Caballero, and thank you, colleagues. Many of you have touched on things I wanted to bring up, so I'll be very succinct. When this project fell through with Fallon, while it was disappointing, it may have actually been fortuitous for us. Because as the mayor indicated, we have a new council, we have a new mayor, we have 2 new council members. And I think it's important for them to have some time to live with this project and to, if need be, reshape even the 5 guiding principles that we initially came up with. This may very well be, as a government and by extension as a people, our last great opportunity to brand Durham in the downtown corridor. This is the last great piece of land we own in the downtown footprint. Most great cities around the world, you know what that city is without having the name on the screen when you see something about that city. And this may be an opportunity for us as a city to brand Durham in that way where you know it. So we have the water tower and the smokestack, of course, and the Bull and CCB Plaza. But what great architectural addition will we have where folk will see a picture of that city and know that that's Durham. I'd much rather get this right than get it quick. The only clock we're under is the one that's imposed upon ourselves when it comes to this land. The other great thing is that even as this project sits undeveloped, it's not like other things aren't going on. Forever Home is still putting affordable units online almost monthly. So I'd rather, and you know, when it comes to subdividing the lot, I really rather would prefer that we come at this with a one unified grand vision and develop it all at the same time, because whatever we put there piecemeal, if we start with affordable housing there, then the rest of the project, what it will look like, its coherence, aesthetically, will be tethered to that piece, because we don't want it to look hodgepodge. We don't want it to look like patchwork. And I say this as a person who's worked on affordable housing issues my whole public life in Durham. I'd rather get it right than get it quick. And the fact that we're doing other affordable housing projects makes me feel more comfortable with taking time on this project. I think this new council should have discussions. I have no problem with going back to the drawing board, reopening community engagement. I'll reserve comment about the building at this time, but I think this council should have opportunity to revisit. We're under no one's clock except the one we impose upon ourselves. It's important that we get this right rather than get it quick. So with that said, Madam Mayor, those are my comments on this. I do want to thank the staff. With respect to the two proposals, I think they're DOA for me. It's just simply, the financial return to the city is just simply unacceptable to me with these two proposals. I think this is an opportunity for us, as has already been echoed, to go back to the drawing board and get this right. If we come up with the same values that we came up with, so be it. And if they're amended, it's an amended council, and so be it as well. But I'm for going full back to revisitation. I am not for subdividing the lot, because I think a unified, grand, coherent vision should guide the whole project. And that's where I am. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anybody else have any comments?
Thank you. I would also like the opportunity, as a new council person, to be able to go back to the drawing board and to really look at the need of what we need to have in Durham right now. I mean, this, I think you said, was from 2017 or 2018, and there might be there's some changes, and there's some things that we need to look at. And so I would really like the opportunity to actually do a dive again and to start again. Thank you.
Thank you, council member.
Did you carry us through, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'll give up the gavel, if it's your pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I really do. Hopefully, I won't get choked again, but if I do, I know you will stand by.
Glad you're okay.
Right. All right. We'll now turn to our public hearings. Thank you all.
The public hearings are just for the regular Monday night meeting, so you've completed your business for today.
We have completed our business for today. Well, Mayor Pro Tem, you better come and finish us out.
Well, yes, ma'am.
We completed our business for today. Go ahead.
Colleagues, thank you. Staff, thank you so much for that important presentation. And colleagues, thank you for the discussion. I think we are ready, if there are no other matters, to settle the agenda.
Look at
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. You have some announcements for us?
Yeah.
Ahead of myself. Thank you, Councilman.
We're all kind of smiling up here because we're like,
I told you.
So it works, Councilwoman Johnson and Javier, it worked.
She ain't finished me.
Because they didn't want.
Madam Clerk?
Good afternoon, everyone. Council has nominated the following residents to boards, committees, commissions, and task forces. The Audit Services Oversight Committee appointment is Emily C. Yeats. Carolina Theater Board of Trustee appointment, Tanetta Walker. Citizen Advisory appointment, that is Anna Rebeck. Durham City Council Environmental Affairs Board appointment for at-large resident, Tori Swain. Durham Convention Center Authority mayoral appointment, Ari S. Meadoff. Durham Open Space and Trails appointment for Ward 1.
May I interject, and because we can't really hear you?
You can't hear. This might help. Should I start over?
I think the mic, it just drops as soon as you put it away from your face. Like you just need to hold it, really, really close.
Okay.
Thanks.
I will start with the Citizen Advisory Committee appointment, Anna Rebeck. Durham City County Environmental Affairs Board appointment for at-large resident, Tori Swain. Durham Convention Center Authority mayoral appointment, Ari S. Meadoff. Durham Open Space and Trails Commission appointment for Ward 1, W. Vincent Pierce III. Durham Open Space and Trails Commission appointment for Ward 2, Terrence Priester. Open Space and Trails and Commission mayoral appointment, Brian Lukanen. Durham Performing Arts Center Oversight Committee appointment, Alice L. Sharp. Durham Workers' Rights Commission appointment, Krista T. Kenny. Participatory Budgeting Steering Committee, there are 4 appointments. There were 3 nominations made, John W. Jordan, Kenneth Webb, Cynthia A. Wood. For the 4th appointment, we had 3 support nominations for Anna Rebeck and then 3 for re-advertising, but Anna Rebeck was selected for the Citizen Advisory Committee. I wasn't sure what your pleasure was for that.
Well, I was one of the ones that voted to appoint her to the Citizens Advisory and the other 3, so what I was hoping to do is just re-advertise for one position, for the one.
Is that council's pleasure?
Yes.
Whatever the mayor says.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that would put Ms. Rebeck on 2 committees, so since we chose her for 1, we would just accept everybody else and then re-advertise for just 1.
Sounds great. Who would like to change their vote to re-advertise? I have Mayor O'Neill, council members Freeman and Hyman voting to re-advertise.
I'll re-advertise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And continuing on, Participatory Budgeting Steering Committee appointment for youth seat is Prince C. Rivers. Racial Equity Commission representing Durham Public Schools youth category, Jordan Vereen. Recreation Advisory Commission reappointment, Jill S. Thomas. Recreation Advisory Commission appointments, there are 2 of them, Tia Rawlings and Leslie L. Strax Mullum. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. We'll turn now to Deputy City Manager Ferguson to settle the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. For the agenda, I have on consent items 1 through 24, 26 through 30, and item 37. On GBA public hearings, we have items 31 through 35.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor and colleagues. I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. Madam Mayor, do you want to adjourn or do you? Thank you, ma'am. It's July 26th, it's 3:35 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you so much. City.
I don't